If you want to cook up like Metro Boomin, but you don't have an MPC, no problem. I'm going to show you in this video how to use FL Studio like an MPC. So the first thing, we need to go to the channel rack. Let's click here. Let's go to FPC. This is FL Studio's version of an MPC with like 16 pads. From here, we're going to go to the presets and go to empty. The next step we're going to do is actually map to our typing keyboard. So the first step before we get into all this is go to the typing keyboard to piano keyboard, right click, and select your root note with the right click, go to C, and then right click on 4. And this is why it says C4 right here. It has to be C4 for this to work. And go to Layout FPC. So now when you use your typing keyboard, it will trigger the pads on the FPC by default. And all I'm doing is just going up my keyboard. Okay. So that's how you use your pads like that. Nextly, we need to find our drums. So let's go to our drums. Let's grab some drums here. And let's go to like 92 BPM. So if you're doing like boom bap type stuff, you want to stay around 84, 88 BPM, 90s. Okay, if you want to play stuff by hand. You can do higher BPMs, but if you're going classic boom bap, that's the tempo. So let's grab some drums here. We're going to load up in the FPC. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is grab the hi-hats and get a vibe going. Okay, let's grab a snare. So we can just grab the snare, drag it on a pad. So I usually go kick, snare, hi-hat, kick, snare, hi-hat, like that, so that it's pretty easy to go back and forth. So now when I hit X on my keyboard, it triggers that snare. Now the only thing about this sample is it has a gap in the beginning, so you do have to edit the sample if it has any gaps or clicks and pops in the beginning. Just right click here, go to edit, and then we're gonna just trim this. If you don't see the trim, just make your Edison wider and click on the trim tool. And then drag this using the drag button back into the FPC. Now the cool part about the FPC is you can layer sound. So let's say you want to layer a hi-hat and a snare. So let's layer that hi-hat over top the snare. Now the cool part is that the hi-hat is delayed, but the snare hits right on the downbeat. So the hi-hat hits a little bit after the snare. So now you have a unique drum sound. Let's find a kick. Okay, let's see what kind of kicks. If I can't find a kick out of this kit, I'll go to a different kit. This one's cool. Let's drag that in. And we need to right click, go to edit, grab your trim and just turn that up, and then drag the sample back over top of that window right there. This window specifically right here. Now that kick's sounds a certain way. So you can go to the tuning here and pitch this kick down. Okay, another thing is, now when you're typing with your typing keyboard, you don't have velocity. But if you have a MIDI controller you want to use, click this drop down and click clear pads, but then go to map notes for entire bank and then start playing the notes on your whatever MIDI controller that you have. And FL Studio will link whatever you're pressing to the next pad. So if I had my keyboard behind me, my Arteria Key Lab, I would hit pad number 1, it would link it to here. Pad number 2, I would hit, it would do this. Pad number 3, on and on and on. And do that across all 16. Okay, so that's how you do that. Now, let's record this drum. Now, I'm probably going to swap out the kick because the kick's whatever. Okay, so now we have the drums. Okay, so now you can load up another FPC, and let's say you want to sample music. Now in this case, I would not tell you to load up an FPC. I would tell you to load up the Slice X plugin. And the way we do this is go to our browser. If you need samples, go to our Discord. It's discord.gg/busyworksbeats. And you can find all the top hip hop samples from J Dilla, Kanye West, Jay-Z, Just Blaze. Every top hip hop album is in here. Let's go to the Outcast, and let's go to Stankonia, and let's grab one of these samples. Okay, so what I'm going to do is actually right click the sample in the browser, go to open and Slice X. So the reason I'm doing this is because FPC requires a lot of dabbling. It's more for drums. For samples, I would recommend Slice X. So let's right click our typing keyboard icon, and this time select Layout Slice X C4. Make sure your root note is C. make sure your octave is 4 or else this won't operate the right way. So now I have to grab this button here, which is the dull slicing button, medium auto slicing button. It will slice up the sample. And now when I can play my typing keyboard. Let's record that. Sounds pretty dope. I messed up at the end, but whatever. Okay, and now we have, as if we're playing, the cool part is that you're recording the human timing, and that's what makes it sound like an MPC. Now, it'd be better if you have velocity sensitivity, but it requires a MIDI controller. So you can turn on this button called scale velocity. What that means is when you hit the snare, you can hit it hard and it will play loudly, or you can hit it soft, it will play softly. To demonstrate that, if you click on the bottom of a pad, it plays the loud sound. If you click at the top, it plays the softer sound. So that's what it would sound like on a real, if you're playing this with pads off of your MIDI controller, because it has what's called velocity sensitivity. Because I'm using my typing keyboard, there is no velocity sensitivity. So that's the only difference. So let's say you want to replace that kick. Now the kick's cool and everything. It just doesn't have a knock to it, in my opinion. So let's say you change your mind. You want to have like more of a modern drum. Let's go to this kick number 10. Never goes wrong. Let's drag this over top, the kick. Now this will layer the old kick with the new kick. Now this is a cool sound, but the problem is now we have 2 kicks fighting for space. So I still like the texture of the first kick. I'm going to add an envelope here to make this first kick basically get rid of the transient. So it goes like whoosh at the end, which is the texture of the sound. So it goes like whoosh. Okay. Actually, this envelope affects both pads. So I would have to put this on a different pad. Okay, and I'll show you how to map the MIDI. So let's turn this off. To delete stuff, you click on it, hit delete to get rid of that layer. So now we can hear the kick, the envelope. So let me get rid of the snares for a second. Show you guys what it sounds like. Let's go here. Where's our drums? Yeah. Okay, so now listen for the kick. So that's what I'm doing with the kick, is smearing it so it doesn't have a transient. You could add more attack time to it. So I just want the texture from the kick. And then I'll layer in my modern kick with this kick. All we have to do is find it here and hit Control on the keys to highlight all these keys. Hit Control and then highlight. Hit Shift, left click, and drag this up. So they have the same timing. And we can even delay this kick, the texture kick, to the right, hitting Alt right. So it has like a throw effect. So it's like boom, boom, like that. So that's how you can modernize your drums pretty quickly. Okay, so let's make this a clone and just switch out a couple things. So I like this hit, so we're gonna move this last hit up and then start with this hit. So it goes. Gotta get the timing right. Okay, so the cool part about having all this grouped is now you can select the group as an entire group, go to the wrench tool, and use time shift as a whole. So now all the kicks and all the snares are moving to the right. So you can get a tighter groove. So you don't have to use the medium slicing. There's also something called dull slicing, or you could do your own slices. You don't have to use the computer algorithm. So now I'm going to have it on dull slicing. it has a whole different, the slices are different. Now, what you could do is keep that rhythm, hit shift up. And now you can try out different slices. So you see we're not getting the same vibe. So I'm going to hit Control Z, go all the way back until we get to this type of slicing. So that's how you use FL Studio like an FPC. The sampling part, when you get into the musicality, that requires a lot of time because you have to chop the sample down, put it on a pad. You know, there's a lot of work with that. That's why I recommend Slice X. Also, lastly, with Slice, you can add low pass filters to the sample using what's called an articulator. Turn on the LP, put it on ×1. You can also have this. You can also have that velocity sensitive or keynote sensitive, to where now the cutoff is based off of what note you're playing. I believe there's a cutoff key mapping. I might be speaking incorrectly here. They have volume mapping, they have envelope mapping, LFO mapping, velocity mapping, meaning how hard you hit it, it opens up the filter more. That would probably be better for velocity sensitive stuff like a MIDI controller. Mod Y is this icon up here, and then Mod X, the same thing. And then random is random filtering. So let's just see what this sounds like. So now it has a random low pass filter. So it adds a little bit of movement to the track. So some chops are muffled, some chops aren't. So it's completely random. Okay, so smaller chops are probably better for the MPC approach. Again, once you start getting into like 1 bar, 2 bar samples in the FPC, it gets a little messy because it's not as easy to work with the sample. So that's how I would do it in FL Studio. If you want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. Shout out to Metro Boomin. Peace.